Hi, this is Sam Broadway with RE/MAX Main Street Realty and Team Broadway, where the spotlight is always on your real estate needs. Today's segment is on the role of the closing attorney in the state of South Carolina. With that, I would like to introduce to you Chase Payne with the Payne Law Firm. Hey Chase, how are you today?
I'm well, how are you?
Let's talk a little bit about closings, particularly closings in South Carolina. Chase, how about that?
Sam, thanks for having me today, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak a little bit about the closing process and the formalities of what are going to occur pre-closing, during the closing, and post-closing. As you may know, South Carolina is an attorney state. In America, you either have title states or you have attorney states. Many of your out-of-state borrowers may be moving here, and they may have closed at a title company before. In South Carolina, our Supreme Court has made decisions that the primary residential buyers need to close with a closing attorney, especially if they're going to be using a mortgage, and most mortgage products are going to be governed by the South Carolina law.
So in the state of South Carolina, if there's a mortgage, it's required that you have an attorney. That's very interesting. So to break this down a little more bites and simpler, I think I heard pre-closing, closing, and post-closing. These are the different segments. Correct, Chase?
That's correct. And oftentimes, most of the work is going to be done on the pre-closing side of the transaction. This is going to be a process where we are going to get the contract and review it. Oftentimes, the contract is already signed by the time my office gets it in their possession. However, we're happy to review that contract prior to anybody signing to make sure that it's up to what we would advise. Some other elements that are going to occur in the pre-closing process is making sure that we are following the rules of the contract that was signed. That's our main duty in this closing process, is making sure that our purchaser or our seller, whomever we may represent, is following their contract. Another part of the closing process is going to be working with the purchaser's lender in getting their final purchasing documents correct for closing. A big portion of this is the closing disclosure. The closing disclosure recently changed back in October of 2015, and now they have a new process, whereas the lender or the attorney may be the ones creating this document. Under either scenario, both parties are going to work together with one another to make sure that they're compliant with all of the new laws.
Correct. So from the pre-closing, the next step is closing. Can you give us a little more idea, Chase, of what to look for in the closing table?
Sure, Sam. The closing is going to be scheduled by either the realtors or the purchaser and or the seller. In South Carolina, attorneys can represent the purchaser and the seller without having any conflict, as long as both parties are aware that I am representing both parties and they are waiving that conflict if there were any. At the closing table, we're going to go over all of the purchaser's documents, which are going to include the lender's documents as well as some law firm documents that are created in representing their side. We're also going to go over the seller's affidavits and the seller's deed with both parties and make sure that everything's accurate on those affidavits. And the final and most important portion of this closing process, Sam, is making sure that we've collected all the good funds, that we've received a funding number, and that we're able to disperse all the proceeds and give keys out.
Very good. I think that makes everybody happy. And after the funds are dispersed and the keys are exchanged and everybody goes on their happy way, is there any other things that the attorneys are involved in post-closing?
Yes, Sam, very much so. Once the closing has occurred, the attorney is going to be responsible with making sure that all of the lenders receive their final documents, that all the mortgages are recorded, there's mortgage satisfactions that are recorded, and that the final title policy and deed is mailed out to the purchaser.
Thank you very much, Chase. I appreciate you enlightening us a little bit on the procedures from the closing attorney.
Thank you for having me.
This is Sam Broadway with RE/MAX Main Street Realty and
Chase Payne with Payne Law Firm.
And Team Broadway, where spotlight is always on your real estate needs.